Great. Well, hi everyone, and hopefully we can link up with Ilona. Can you hear me? Not at the moment. With me, we'll just get just try and. I think you're muted at the moment, so let me just work on that.
I'm unmuted.
Ilona, brilliant. We can hear you. That's perfect. That's great.
I have to say, I like your picture. It's better than my picture behind me. I should have tidied up the office.
So this is the, what's this? This is the 9th webinar we've done. We're doing 10 webinars. This is the 9th, and every one I've been visiting a different racecourse. And the idea is that people watching have got to guess which racecourse I'm visiting.
Okay.
So it's a quiz at the end. I don't know if you can see, which racecourse am I visiting today? Yesterday, I was at Saratoga in America, and I can tell you it was a lot warmer there than it is here. Yeah,
it's wet today.
So we've got, what have we got? We've got 60 people have joined us so far, which is great.
Wow.
So let me just get everyone up so they can hear and everyone's organized. Brilliant. Well, lots of people joining us all the time, so 61 people now with us. So just to explain to those people that are joining us, I know many of you have managed to sit through all 8 of our previous webinars, so congratulations to you. There ought to be some sort of reward for that. But the idea is that we're going around the industry just asking different people about the current situation, how it's affecting them. And we've heard from lots and lots of people from very different parts of the industry. Our last webinar is tomorrow, which is with Brian Mayo, who is a breeder, and he'll be talking about the effect on the breeding industry. So today, we're with Ilona Barnett, who is the racecourse manager at Stratford, and we're going to be asking her a few questions. But if you've got any questions to ask, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You might need to tap the screen to be able to get it up. If you tap your screen, a little sort of menu will appear at the bottom. One of those menu items will be Q&A. Tap that, a box will appear, and you'll be able to type in any questions that you've got, and I will then pass those on. So any questions at all, type them into that box, and I'll pass them on later during our webinar. So we've now got 63 people with us, which is fantastic. So lots of interest, and great to see so many people, lots and lots of Foxtrot members joining us. So let's get going, if that's okay. It's gone 12 o'clock, so we might as well start. So perhaps I can start off just by asking how things are, how are you coping, and is it very quiet at the moment?
Yes, very, very quiet. We've gone from having an office with 4 people answering the phone constantly to just me at the moment, and the accountant who is working from home, and Nessie, our clerk of the course, she's working from home and coming into course walk. But I think the phone rang once yesterday, and that was to see whether we'd be racing in July or not. And actually today it hasn't rung at all. So it's most bizarre that the girls in the office are on furlough. So it's just me doing everything, answering the phone when it does ring, post, the works.
So can you just explain, obviously at the moment, your role sounds like it's doing a bit of everything, but in usual times, should we say, what is your role at Stratford?
So I am general manager, so I'm responsible for the overall running of the whole race course, whether that's racing, non-race day events. Nessie obviously looks after the track and the track team and the clerking work, but I oversee everything else at the race course and report back to a board of directors.
So we've got lots and lots more people joining us now, so we need 70 people. So just a reminder for those people that have joined, if you've got any questions for Ilona, then just fill in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, and you'll be able to ask any questions, and I'll forward those on at the end. So can you just tell us a little bit about, obviously, the current situation? What's been the impact for the race course?
So we, from the middle of March, had to shut down absolutely everything, really. Some of your members may know that we are also a campsite when we're not a race course. We also have lots of non-race day events, but we literally had to shut the gates, lock the gates, and stop working. We refunded everybody for various fairly imminent race meetings, and we've done that up to July, but we are obviously hopeful that the 1st of July that there may be an option for us to start racing behind closed doors. But literally we've gone from being a very busy, vibrant site with beer festivals and lots of events going on to actually there is just nobody here.
So you mentioned there about race meetings. What actually are the implications of losing a race meeting?
So as well as the financial implications, because obviously we do earn money when we race, it's also the social implications for people coming to the race course. It's, you know, it's the optimum use of the turf. It's that, you know, there's a whole lot of things that are all linked to racing, and actually there's, you know, that the town is affected because obviously we bring customers to the town, they come and stay, so it's a huge knock-on impact for everybody.
So what sort of attendance would you normally expect to get sort of at your meetings?
So the midday week fixtures are sort of 2,000 people, but then when we've got a premium fixture at the weekend, we can go up to 8,000 people.
Yeah. So the implications are very obvious there. And one of the things from an owner's perspective, I suppose, there's been a lot of talk about prize money and the issue that prize money might be reduced. Now, could you just explain, first of all, how is prize money decided for races? How is that allocation done, and why are some races worth different amounts to others?
Okay, so in simplistic terms, because it's quite detailed and I could go on forever and ever, that the prize money is made up predominantly of levy contribution, and then there is the racecourse executive contribution, and each race and race type has a certain value. We can then add to it as an executive to make the race worth more, but we have to stick to minimum values. So prize money moving forward is very much dependent on whether we're behind closed doors racing or racing and the wider country is open more, because our executive contribution is mainly made up of media rights, and the media rights comes from licensed betting officers, shops being open. So at the moment, in the current lockdown, there are no LBOs open, so therefore the income is zero. Also, there's no betting taking place, so there's no levy being generated, so their income is zero at the moment. So if we go to a behind closed doors scenario, it's very unlikely that betting shops will be open, therefore racecourses won't have an executive, you know, their executive RMG contribution will be zero. So we will be looking to the levy to make up the prize money. So therefore there is going to have to be a reduction potentially with behind closed doors racing.
And does sponsorship play a part in the prize money as well? And do you expect your sponsorship income to be affected?
Yeah, sponsorship does take an important part, especially here at Stratford. And yes, I think sponsorship will be affected because, you know, I think everybody, nobody is untouched by this, and everybody is going to feel some financial implications, whether it's because they've had to furlough staff or getting back on their feet financially. And I think sponsorship is something that actually, and likewise, I think potentially racehorse ownership is something that is going to suffer.
So on a normal race day, you'd have a variety of different races. You might have a maiden hurdle, a handicap chase. Who decides which races that you put on a race day?
So historically, Nick Lees has been in charge of our race programme. He has recently handed that over to Nessie, but they produce a race programme, and then we collectively look at it together. I think my radio's just come on. 2 seconds. Can you hear that?
Well, we thought you were having a party without us or something. So,
2 seconds.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So,
that's really funny. Sorry.
All part of the live webinar things that go on.
Oh my goodness, I don't. That's yeah. I'm so untechy. That's funny. Sorry, folks.
So you were just saying free entrance for Foxtrot members or something. I can't quite
Oh
remember.
yeah, yeah, no. Very good, Dan. Yeah.
So, so just going back to the races and the race that you're able to put on, is that very much a BHA decision, or can you decide to put on a host of races that perhaps are a lower value?
It's a mixture, really. There are certain races and race types that the BHA ask us to host, whether it's novice chasers, etc., etc. Race type is also looked at over, we have different distances here that suit Stratford. Equally, certain times of the year, it may be more suitable for us to have more hurdles on a card than it is to have chasers on a card. Also, Nessie talks to the course inspectorate. Sometimes we're doing some work here. Some of you have noticed that recently we've done quite a lot of levelling work to our fences, because there's a lot of built up soil in front of and behind the fences. So we'll look at whether we're doing levelling work and the distance of the chase races. So it is a huge combination of things.
So one of the questions that we've had from one of our members is, what incentive is there for Racecourse to sort of put on a valuable race? Sometimes you see these handicap chasers, or even maybe a viable novice chaser, only attracts a few runners. Why would Racecourses want to put on valuable races as opposed to, maybe a handicap hurdle or a maiden hurdle that's getting 10, 12, 14 runners?
So we do get a better contribution to put on a valuable race, and actually for tracks to have decent horses and better quality horses running, it affects the betting turnover. It also affects people coming to the race course. If the likes of Stratford ever had somebody like Best Mate running here, it would be quite an incentive for people to go to Stratford. And so yes, there's various reasons why we should put on better quality races, and try to do so.
So another question we've had from one of our members from Kishan is, would Stratford ever consider having flat racing?
So as we are configured now, our course is far too tight. I don't know whether your members are familiar with us, but we're fairly triangular and we don't have a sufficiently long straight. We do have a piece of land that some of you may be aware in the car parks, and there is potential that we could extend, but at the moment geographically we're just not suitable and our bends are too tight for flat racing.
So let's just talk about sort of owners and the ownership experience. Obviously, the number of syndicates is expanding. What sort of challenges and difficulties is that causing to provide a really good sort of ownership experience?
The biggest challenge for Stratford is space. We're a floodplain, and so we can't just build additional buildings where we would like. And we have to use the buildings that we've got, and we just, syndicates, obviously there's more people coming. We'd like to be able to offer them an ownership experience, and sometimes our owners' rooms are just too small, and that's probably not just Stratford, that's probably a huge number of race courses. And you have a sole owner that's possibly 2 or 3 people and a syndicate that's 20 people, they take up a lot more space. And so that is the main challenge. Another challenge is in the parade ring, actually. We've all seen pictures of a very congested Cheltenham parade ring, because understandably everybody wants to be in the parade ring where they want to see their horse. That's part of the experience. But safety wise, we're quite a small parade ring. Safety wise, it is always a worry.
Yeah, it's obviously an ongoing issue. Martin Prince has also asked about the way in which racecourses deal with the increasing number of syndicates. I mean, have you thought about sort of different badges? At the moment you have an owner's badge that lets you into the parade ring, into the owner's room, into the racecourse. Some courses now are introducing sort of different badges, so maybe a wristband that lets you into the paddock, an entrance ticket into the racecourse, a separate badge that gets you into the owner's room. Perhaps with the idea of tiering it, so sole owners might be able to get into the owner's room, syndicates can't get in the owner's room but can get in the paddock. Is that something Stratford might be interested in introducing?
Yes, definitely, and that was part of the reason that, you know, our association started and that we started Syndicate Sunday, because I don't know whether you remember, we trialled different badges with S on for syndicate members at our Syndicate Sunday last year, and that was very successful. And yes, I had planned to expand that this year, and our relationship is very important to me, because I understand where you're coming from. We as Stratford also have our own syndicate horse that we've had for a couple of seasons now, so it makes me go to other race courses when he's running to see how we're treated, what other people are doing better than us, what, you know, what we should be doing differently. But it's an evolving situation, and we haven't actually found a good scenario yet. It's still, you know, being worked on.
Well, I think, you know, I would say from a personal point of view, and certainly for Foxtrot, you've always been very accommodating to us and very helpful, and it, you know, really does make a difference, particularly from my point of view. And I think, you know, a lot of Foxtrot members like to come racing, and Stratford's very geographically convenient, and we always get well looked after that. So can I just sort of take the opportunity to thank you for your effort and time of looking after our members.
But that works in return, because you are a very well managed syndicate, and not all syndicates are so well managed, and managing expectations and managing your members is an important part of that, and your guys and your members all understand that, and they understand our limitations as well, so we work together. But some syndicates sell a dream for, you know, £7.50, and it's a slightly unrealistic dream, and then people come to the racecourse, and then we're the bad guys because we can't fulfil the dream for £7.50. It's it works both ways, and that's why it's good that we work together.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you for those comments. And you mentioned their Syndicate Sunday, so maybe we could just talk about that for a moment. Obviously, that was a new initiative last year. Can you just explain a little bit about what Syndicate Sunday was and how it worked for you?
So we really wanted to welcome new syndicates and encourage more syndicates to come racing, to support Stratford. We also, as a racecourse, wanted to understand more about what syndicates want when they go racing, and we trialled a few things. So we trialled the badges with S on. We also looked at giving more badges instead of possibly access to owners' rooms. And so it's basically, and it's a shame if we can't do it this year, but it's an ongoing work in progress where we're learning from each other, because everything is always changing, and trying to optimize the race day experience for everybody, really.
Well, I thought it was an excellent initiative, and one that, you know, I hope the Racecourse was pleased to put on, because it was done obviously with the Racehorse Syndicates Association and their work to try and promote ownership, and I thought it was a great initiative. And is the plan to try and keep that going?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, we'd like to keep it going, and I'm not quite sure what's going to happen this July, because if we're behind closed doors, then then we're down to one groom and one trainer. So we might have to put it on hold for the following year. But yes, definitely, I'd like to continue with it.
One of the questions we've had, actually, you may have just answered, but do you have any idea of what behind closed doors actually means? Lots of sort of talk about it in the media. Do you have any inkling or any information of what that actually means in practice?
So for me personally, my personal interpretation is that we would be very similar to the Irish model, which showed horses, one groom, and one other, probably trainer, head lad with the horse, and that would be it. Then obviously as a race course, we would be, you know, the medics, the fence staff, the operational infrastructure, but literally there would be nobody else, no connections, no owners, no limited owners. I think owners would be the next step in racing, that there would be a limited number of crowd. So we're not talking about paying public, we're then talking about racing with connections. And then the third step then would possibly be full resumption of racing. But yeah, behind closed doors is very restrictive.
Well, let's take a couple more questions. Tom Gittins has asked, how many dogs how many dogs have you currently got in your office?
Oh, today, Tom, I think we've just got 2 whippets.
They're at your feet, are they?
Yeah, normally, as Tom knows, we have a huge number of dogs. It's a bit like a hound pack in here on many occasions.
Right, well, they're obviously keeping very quiet, so doing very well.
Yeah. Oh, apart from my radio, I don't get this. I think I need to turn my radio off.
Fine. Well, let's throw another question.
Yeah. Sorry,
another question
turn the radio off now.
So Richard King has asked, I really like your model of having a number of hunter chasers, particularly on one evening card. Have you considered expanding your hunter chase program?
So we as a course are very supportive of hunter chasing, and my roots are in point to pointing, and so we do love having hunter chasing. But at the moment, the number of hunter chasers are defined by the BHA, and therefore we can't expand our hunter chasers unless another course stops holding hunter chasers. So at the moment the number is set. It's not to say that won't change in the future, but yes, we took on a couple of extra hunter chasers to create the hunter chase evening, and they had come from Toaster when they stopped racing. So at the moment all race courses are set at the number that we have.
So Anthony asks, have you, or is there any support that you would like to see the industry giving to race courses, but specifically to Stratford during this time?
So there are a number of options being looked at by the levy at the moment, obviously financial options, but I think the best thing for all of us would actually for racing to resume, because then we all have opportunity to improve our financial situations. And so, you know, Stratford, we're not looking for a handout or holding out a begging bowl. Everybody is in financial difficulty at the moment, and the sooner we can get racing, the better, really.
So really for you, it's just about getting racing back on and going, and you know, that seems to be the key at the moment. Would that be a fair summary?
Yes, I wouldn't even mind if my campsite opened, because I have some sort of income, and that may be a possibility. Maybe that camping opens before sport, but it's going to be a phased reintroduction of anything, really.
Yeah. Great. So if you've got any more questions, please just tap the box at the bottom of your screen. There's a Q&A box in there, and you can type them in and we'll pass those on. We've probably got time for a couple more questions. So one of them is, can you just give us an overview of the rest of the summer and what your program looks like? How many more meetings do you have scheduled sort of from the 1st of July?
So obviously jump racing has been given the 1st of July. We then we will have lost a total of 7 fixtures. We then hope to be able to resume from then. So I think we've got a further 9 or 10 fixtures taking us through to the end of October. It may be that the fixture list is adjusted, and that actually across the country it is optimum to have only 3 fixtures a day, possibly 2 flat, 2 jump, but that is being worked on at the moment. Obviously Stratford, we're like our normal calendar to resume, but those fixtures are not going to be normal fixtures. In July we've got Family Day and Ladies' Day. Well, we are not going to be marketing those as Family Day and Ladies' Day, because I think how we all attend race meetings will be very, very different, and that we need to be aware of that.
Yeah. Great. Well, a couple more questions. Earlier on you mentioned about Nessie and being sort of clerk of the course and the role there. Could you just expand a little bit on what does being a clerk of the course involve, and what does that role mean? So
Nessie, as clerk of the course, is responsible for what happens on the track, both on a non-race day, so the maintenance and the care of the track, and operationally on a race day. So she is the liaison between the racecourse and the BHA officials who are looking after the rules of racing on a race day. So she is making sure that our grounds team are preparing the ground and that the going is correct and safe for racing, and so she is responsible for all of that.
Great. And then John Cassidy would like to know a bit more about you, I think. So how did you get into course management? Did you always want to do that, or how did it come about?
So my family actually are military, but we are from East Anglia and very close to Newmarket, and I just absolutely found it fascinating. Newmarket, driving through Newmarket, seeing the horses on the gallops and racing, it was just a complete fascination and a passion. And eventually my father decided that actually you need to move away from home and go and start earning a living and getting a career. So I came up to Warwickshire and took a degree in equine studies, and still had a passion for racing. You know, had a turf club at the college, and so then when I was about to graduate, I started sending, as everybody does, their CVs out to lots of places. And at the time, Stratford needed somebody part-time in the office, and I was very lucky to get that role, and have been here ever since, basically.
So what was your role when you first came to Stratford?
I think I was envelope opener, I think, possibly. And just, yeah, answering the phone. I very much have learnt the ins and outs of racing from the bottom up, really.
And so you report to a sort of a board, do you, an exec board?
Yes, I have a board of yes, there are 6 board members. The Landover, Stephen Lambert, who used to be in this position, Mrs. Gale, who was also the manager at the racecourse, Nick Lee, some of you know from his association with Newmarket and Leicester, and then George Lee, who is a landowner and shareholder as well. So yeah.
And who owns the racecourse? I mean, obviously a lot of courses are owned by the Jockey Club or Arena Racing, but is Stratford independent?
Yes, we are totally independent. Yes, yeah, shareholders.
So so a bit of pressure sometimes on the manager.
Yes, a bit of pressure on the manager. Yes, and a pressure on the dividends probably, especially this year.
I don't think expectations will be too high for that.
No, I hope not. I hope not.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's been fascinating to hear about how the racecourse operates, what it involves, what your job is, and how you're coping sort of in the current situation. I know we all can't wait to get back to Stratford and get racing again. And even if we can't go, hopefully some of our horses will be making an appearance there in the not too distant future.
Thank you very much. It is very bizarre here at the moment, because when the sun is shining and the grass is all immaculate, and there's not a caravan in sight cluttering up the place, it looks absolutely glorious. And it is such a shame, you know, we've had so many days when we're supposed to be racing and the sun is shining and you walk about and think, oh, why can't we be racing? So yeah, we're very much looking forward to starting it. And we have actually taken this opportunity to paint stables and do lots of work that the good weather has afforded us to do. And so hopefully we'll be looking spot on when everybody comes back.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for joining us. Really do appreciate your time. I know you're very busy with doing lots of different jobs in the office, so thank you very much for sharing it, and well done to the dogs for keeping quiet as well.
Yeah, and the phone hasn't rung at all, has it? It was just my radio. That shows how quiet it is that I've got the radio on in the office. Thank you very much.
Thank you again for joining us. And did you guess where I am, by the way? Do you know where I am? Who, me? Yes. Oh yeah. Well, that looks like Stratford. I am. Yeah, I'm at the end of your course. Yeah. Yeah. Looks so much better background than mine. I need to tidy up my notice board. Yeah, so at the end of the course, so it's getting a bit chilly out here. I think it's going to rain in a moment. So so tomorrow I will be visiting a different race course. So hopefully you can guess where I am. So today I've been at Stratford, and tomorrow I'll be somewhere else. 5 o'clock tomorrow, we're with Brian Mayo, who is a top breeder, bred the likes of well, Gold Cup winner, but perhaps more importantly, Anything for Love. So lots to look forward to speaking to Brian tomorrow. That's 5 o'clock. Thank you again for joining us today. It's been another fascinating webinar, and hopefully I'll see you all tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Thank you.